Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this Blackboard Collaborate pop-up session. My name is Miranda Martin. I'm a Facet team member, and my co-facilitator today is Erica's my co-facilitator today. And then we're also joined by Audrey Cutler and Dominique Swan, who are both members of the Facet team as well. And they're going to be here to help assist you during times that we have opportunities to practice Blackboard Collaborate tools, particularly the breakout groups, which Erica is going to give you a chance to walk through in this session from the student perspective. As well, Audrey and Dominique should be able to help assist you in the chat if there are any general technical difficulties that come up for you, although hopefully not. So let's see here. On the agenda for this hour, I'm first going to give you a brief demo showcasing features in these Collaborate rooms and tools found on the Collaborate panel from the instructor's view. And then after that, Erica's going to come on and give you a breakout groups demo, like I mentioned, and provide you with an opportunity to practice using small group breakout rooms, try other features within them to ensure collaboration and engagement in a synchronous meeting with your students from the student perspective, which will be very valuable for you as the instructors. Before we jump into this first demo, I just want to make it clear that I'm not going to walk through how to conduct an entire Blackboard Collaborate session from the start back in your Blackboard classroom to the end. But if you have any questions about features we don't cover, we'll do our best to answer them towards the end of this hour during a brief Q&A session, or we can always provide you with some really great links for Blackboard Collaborate resources via email after this. Just feel free to request them in the chat box. So now I'm going to go ahead and try and share my screen so that you can see the Collaborate panel from the moderator and instructor perspective. Just give me a minute to pull that up. Okay, and please bear with the tunneling. I'm going to try and make a few adjustments to make it a little bit easier to see what we're going to focus on. Let's see here. Okay, so just please note that typically you would not deal with all the screen tunneling since you would either share another browser, for example, or you would share a file such as a PowerPoint slide as I had up here before I shared my screen. So to begin, I want to show you how to minimize. This is called the Collaborate panel. There's this purple X down here in the bottom corner. If you click on that, then you're able to see the presenter's screen. In order to bring that back up, you just click this purple tab once again, and you have all of these features. Excuse me. So on this Collaborate panel, there are 4 different tabs. There's the chat box, which the default goes to everyone, but if you want to make a change to that, you can always just click this previous panel back button. And you can even type in a name to directly chat with somebody in the lecture. The Attendees tab, which we'll come back to. There's the Share Content tab and the My Settings tab, which has various options for you. Now, Erica is going to give you a chance to test out these chat options when we go into breakout groups. And let's see here. For the Attendees tab, you should be able to see pretty much exactly what I'm seeing. Just notice that I'm listed up here as a moderator, along with the other Facet team members in here to assist today, co-facilitate with me. You would be listed down here in the participants section. So moderators are what instructors are as default when they open up, when they have their classrooms and open up these Blackboard sessions. Your students are default to participants. Now, from the moderator or instructor perspective over here on the Share Content tab, there's a list of options for you. You can share a blank whiteboard, share an application screen, which is exactly what I clicked in order to show you this. There's the Share Files option, which is what I selected at the beginning of this pop-up to make sure that a PowerPoint slide was up on the screen for when you came in. There's the polling option, which you got to experience, and again, we're going to talk about later on. And then there's the option for breakout groups, which would be a main focus for today. So now that you've seen what's available, I would encourage you to go ahead and check out your own Collaborate panel and check out the Attendees tab, where it should look very similar, and then see the differences with the Share Content tab. You shouldn't have all options. Now, sometimes you're going to want a student to be able to come on in your lecture and share their screen or a document to discuss questions or maybe even share a resource. So in order for them to be able to do that, they'll need to be made a moderator or a presenter. Now, it's a good practice to keep students as presenters, not moderators. But for this demo, I'm going to show you, let's see, I'll just choose the top person. You go ahead and go over to these three dots to the right of any name. And they're called the Attendees Control. You just click on it, and let's see if I can show you up the whole pop-up window. Here we go. So as a moderator, I have the option in Attendees Control to send a direct chat message, make them a moderator, which has all the controls that I have, make them a presenter, which is what we recommend for students if you want them to collaborate with you and share their screen and content within the lectures. Make them a captioner, and then you could remove them from a session. And actually, I believe my settings are mute all right now, but if you didn't have your settings to mute all, there's typically a mute option in this window as well. So just as a quick example, I'll go ahead and make them a presenter. And then if I wanted to change that and put them back to participant, I click on the Attendees Control option again and select Make Participant. So if you noticed, when I had switched over from a participant to a presenter, there was the moderators, presenter, and participants sections then available. The key difference between participants, presenters, and moderators is that, as I showed you, there's all of these share content options: the primary content, the secondary, and the interaction. For presenters, they don't have the options to do polling or breakout groups for the whole class, but they can share a blank whiteboard screen, share their own computer screen, or upload any files such as I used an example before, a PowerPoint presentation, maybe a PDF or a Word document. Now, before I discuss the breakout groups briefly, do you all have any questions about these attendee controls or any functions with them? You can feel free to either raise your hand, which you can find down here, or just go ahead and turn your mic on and speak out. And actually, I say that, but make sure that you can turn your mics on. Okay, so, oh, Karen, did you have a question?
No, I was just checking to make sure I could turn my own audio on.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to be,
No problem.
a student and making sure I could turn my own audio on. Okay, sorry.
Perfect. Thank you. That's what we wanted you to be able to see.
Okay.
We do have a question about muting. So if you could review mute all. Laura asked, how do I mute all as the moderator? And just to review that
certainly
quickly.
Yep. Sure. So you can do that by going over to your Attendees tab. Let's see here. And then up at the top of the attendees, again, here's this little 3-dot circle option. So it says more options. You click on that, and there's the mute all. Click on that, and it mutes everyone again. Anything else? Yes, you're welcome, Laura. Thanks for asking. Okay, well, if there's anything else, feel free to put it in the chat, and we'll come back to it. So just real quick before I pass things over to Erica, I'll show you the settings in here for these breakout groups, because it can be a little confusing. So if you go to breakout groups in your share content tab as the instructor, and it's a larger group like we have here, The default for assigned groups is randomly assigned, but you also have the option to select custom assignment. Now in the main room, oh, let's see, did I? No, okay. I thought maybe it was the, so it just had kept what was randomly assigned, I suppose. Things look a little bit different. Oh, here we go. The show all button is important. But if you want to go ahead and break up your classroom, let's see, I'll go down to the bottom, and you're in custom assignment, which is what I had selected, you can just click on any name and drag and drop it to a group. Again, click on any name, drag and drop it to a group. Now, if you would want to have, there's the default of 2 groups, but you can always select another and have 3 different groups or more. So it really depends on what's going to work best for you, your class size, and the purposes that you are having your students interact with. One quick note is that if you've created groups for projects within the Blackboard online classroom, unfortunately, they do not transfer over to these Blackboard Collaborate breakout group sessions. So you're going to want to make sure that you move the students into the appropriate groups if they need to have time to work together live and maybe develop their projects further. But once you've sorted out who's going in what groups, you can just select Start, and it will take you into other rooms. You'll then have the chance as the moderator to pop into any group you want in order to check in on your students. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen in just a minute and pass things over to Erica. And that way she's going to break us all out into groups, and then myself, Audrey, and Dominique are going to be available in groups with you in order to help you out and experience some things from the student perspective, because there are a lot more features in the Share Content tab once you're moved into breakout groups. So we'll move into that. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Miranda. And as Miranda mentioned before, there are additional resources. This session gives us a chance to deep dive on the breakout group option and some of the tools that are specifically there to let you expand the level of engagement and interactivity. So we will share, and there are other more introductory resources available and recordings. There was a link to a very brief 2-minute video in the invite, but there are even more available to you on Towson's website. I'll share at the end. So as you saw demonstrated, the Collaborate tool allows you to manage the participant permissions, and it also provides a chance to give you the breakout of your students into smaller groups. So the reason you can take advantage of this is to still have that sense of collaboration. Even though we are 100% online, you can still have somewhat of that structure in your synchronous online meetings. So taking advantage of the breakout groups allows you to have the synchronous time with your class and yet give them the time to work with each other without having to leave the course and come back. So that's a really excellent feature of Collaborate. So first, as Miranda pointed out, in the control panel, and I'll just share mine again. And also, as Miranda mentioned, the tunneling effect it's just standard in Collaborate. So if you are sharing your screen and no other application, if you're going to share a PowerPoint or another screen or video, your participants will not see this. But for our purposes, to the right, we have the Collaborate panel. And this is where we're going to take a little bit of a deep dive on the breakout groups. So as Miranda pointed out, underneath, when you do have the moderator permissions, so participants and presenters do not have this option, but if we go to breakout groups, you will see the panel change to offer you the same settings. So by default, Collaborate is going to randomly assign your groups. So I think it was Carrie that asked a minute ago about Collaborate remembering the groups for next time. Unfortunately, does not. That would be wonderful. But here we have random assignment or custom. So if you do want to be specific and you do want these groups to mirror groups perhaps that are already assigned for projects, you can do that. So randomly assigned is here. And within here, you can also choose to, within the groups, choose to have moderators, which is good that somebody within your group in those small breakout groups can have that level of permissions. It's not relying upon you being in there to do that. So if you have 2 or 3 groups, someone can have that permission. Now, by default, as Miranda had demonstrated, it goes to 2 groups. If you already know you want more, you can create those. If you realize it later, then you can create them later. So by default, it does give you 3. So here we have the also allow attendees to switch groups. So you can choose that. I normally choose that by default just to allow them to go from group to group. If there really is no reason to, then but you can keep the default setting to not have it on there. So if we want to, it randomly assigns, and in the main room, if I want to shuffle, it's going to automatically create 2 groups. And I'm going to move Audrey up to group 1. Dominique's in group 2. So it automatically creates these for me. If I change my mind, you can hit that trash can and it deletes that group. If I want to add another one, I can add a 3rd group and start randomly pulling people. And again, it's just a drag and drop command to move folks around if I want to change, I want to create. So it definitely gives you that flexibility. From your point of view, your role as the instructor, and Collaborate calls you the moderator, you can stay in the main room and you can call everyone back to that room. You can end the groups, and then you can also go group to group. So if I want to check on, as the instructor, I want to be able to do check-ins. I'll be able to see who is, how are they doing? Are they collaborating? Are they working on their project like they're supposed to? Then we can go ahead and you can move group to group, and you'll see that demonstrated in a little bit. So I myself, it does randomly assign the moderators. So I'm going to put myself and Miranda in the main room. So you'll notice that by default, it puts you in one of the groups. To show all, and you can scan the alphabetical list, find yourself, and just drag your name as I did up to the main room. Again, that gives you the flexibility to be in and available to go in and out, and we'll show you that log out. And then the others will be assigned accordingly. So what we're going to do is move into these groups, and we do have, and I'm thankful we have as many attendees as we do. So what we're going to do is we're going to create these 2 groups, and then Audrey will be in group 1 and Dominique will be in group 2. Miranda and I will be in and out of these groups to give you the timing and to do just check-ins. So given the time, we'll probably have about 10 to 15 minutes just to practice and allow you to see the circumstance, because it's good to know what your students will experience before you are using breakout groups. So for example, the chat, Miranda demonstrated the chat. So we'll talk a little bit about the chat. You can communicate very similarly as you do now outside of a breakout group. So for chat, I can choose to specifically chat everyone. If I want to find someone, so I know I want to find my instructor is Miranda, I can specifically send her a chat, and only Miranda will get that. So you can still chat with everyone. You can chat with certain people. And I apologize, the multiple chats coming in might be a little distracting, but hopefully you can still see the panel okay. But thank you all for your excellent questions. So the chatting you'll see demonstrated, and you can send a sample. Far as a best practice, we do recommend there is not a clock or a setting within Collaborate to automatically end the breakout groups and bring everybody back. So a best practice we recommend is to go within the groups yourself and to go ahead and just give them a time check. If you're giving them an hour to collaborate, then halfway through, say, we've been working, have a half an hour left, give them a countdown, there's 10 minutes, and then maybe a final countdown of 2 minutes. And then when you end it and bring everybody back to the main group, it will bring everybody back to this setting. So before we switch, just know that when you guys are in the group, you'll have a little bit of a chance to practice the communicating, see the difference being in a smaller group versus being in the room. You'll also note that the sharing options that Miranda demonstrated before, share a whiteboard, share your screen, share a PowerPoint, you can get a little bit of a chance to do that within your group. And then we'll come back in the main group, and if there are any lingering questions, we can go ahead and do that. So once, as the moderator / instructor, as soon as you get your structure ready, you can go ahead and hit start, and then everyone will break into their group. So for group 1, Audrey is going to be your leader, and then in group 2, Dominique will be your leader, and then Miranda and I will pop in and out. And you're welcome to send texts or sample chats to either one of us to try it out. So here we go, and we'll call you back in about 10 to 12 minutes based on how it goes. Yes.
Sorry, before you hit start, I just wanted to point out really quick that Libby just popped into the chat and said that she just come into the session. Can we just double check that she is showing up in the groups before we begin it?
We will.
She definitely will. We either be able to add her in after? Yes. That's one area I realized I wasn't confident about.
Yeah, because also we'll see her if she wasn't. We would see her in the main room. We can definitely
and be able to switch her right over. Perfect.
Exactly. Automatically, and that was a great question. So yes, your late joiners will automatically, because we chose to do that. It knows you're a late add, so it just popped you in there. So that's great. I'm glad you asked. So here we go.